So I saw this review from this one guy, which I've been hating him for a while because of his opinions on different shows. But now, finally, he has made a video that's actually just stupid in different ways. So I decided, hey, let's debunk, let's respond, let's talk about it.
Mindlessly through my phone as one does, and I came across this monstrosity, the Fairly Odd Parents reboot, and it was just as bad as I expected it to be.
Look how they massacred my boy.
Mindless drivel plot lines, flashy art style, and an overt unfaithfulness to the source material. And I realized,
mindless driven plots have been happening in this show for like 15 years. It's not new. So to portray the reboot as like something worse is very disingenuous. Also, the art style looks genuinely better, more daring, artistic, some might say, than the stupid flash animation they were having going on before the show ended. It's also kind of, ironic to call this animation flashy when the previous one was made in... Well, you get it. Also, how is it unfaithful? You just toss that in there for no reason without explanation.
And I realized, these phenomena are not unique to the Fairly Odd Parents. These symptoms carry on to many remakes and reboots that have sprouted from Hollywood in the last few years.
The show isn't even a reboot. It's set in the same continuity. It's just trying to follow closer to an anthology format with someone else getting Fairly Odd Parents. And it would be actually very cool if they kept it going and every season they get a new child they have to be parents for.
It was originally the Fairly Odd Parents Trash Reboot #1 that inspired me to make this video, but now they went and made another one. And when it's animated, that's where I draw the line. I'm old enough to remember back in Yale 2016 when everyone was trashing the new reboot at the time, Teen Titans Go. Then it was the Powerpuff Girls, Ben 10 reboot, Rise of TMNT, the list goes on.
Again, this isn't a reboot. I don't even think that the live action monstrosity was. Now actually I wonder if it's all set in one universe or it's a split continuity. How can you even look at the live action one and not appreciate the new one? Like, way more. I don't even like these shows. I stopped watching Fairly Odd Parents in like season 6 or something. I'm not even into it. I'm not even into the new show. But to not realize that it's actually better than the last like 4 seasons of the old show, and obviously way better than the live action one, is to basically be dumb on purpose.
These Disney reboots do more than just rip off the original for monetary gain. No. They actively disrespect the source material while they do it. They have to warp the brand to their liking, whether it's for monetary, social, or storytelling purpose.
This is interesting, because I'm pretty sure the Snow White trailer showed that the dwarves will be CGI, so this image is misleading or wrong, or they changed it, or whatever happened. I don't think those are the dwarves we see in the actual movie, so this is just kind of like right-wing propaganda. And I'm not even for making all the dwarves diverse. I think they just should look like they look. Either just get some small people or CGI like they did it. But yeah, this is a weird thing because I don't think that's how they are in the movie.
I feel like everything I'm saying only relates to reboots post-2010, because prior to that, most reiterations weren't like this. Most were better than the originals, and actually kept gritty tones with cool brooding art styles.
Batman Beyond is not a reboot. What are you talking about? It's set in the same universe, it just like takes place further along in the timeline. Alien Force is a time skip, and it's worse than the original series anyway. Hell, half of it is stupid comedy episodes that are not even on par with the comedy episodes in the original series or in Omniverse. Also, the art style was very generic, and shit was so dark you couldn't see the background. And on top of that, they couldn't even animate the characters having expressions in emotional situations. It was pretty much a low point for the series in a lot of ways artistically. So, to argue that that was the peak of like, yeah guys, this is when it was good, it's like, no it wasn't. You could argue maybe the plot was better because it had a plot as opposed to original show, which was very episodic. But to say that artistically it was even on par with the original or even on par with Omniverse is to build cuckoo caca in the head. Like, I'm sorry, that's crazy. Have you seen the last fight scene in Ultimate Alien? And have you seen like a filler fight in Omniverse or the original series, it's like night and day. It's crazy to say that Alien Force and Ultimate Alien had good art styles or good animation.
These modern reboots just go back to square one while ignoring all the story arcs that preceded them, with a cheap-looking animation style and much shallower characters. And they expect folks to be all on board and excited when they announce one.
Also, yeah, the Ben 10 reboot has better fight scenes than Alien Force, by the way. So you're wrong about that. Again, Alien Force is not known for its good animation. I don't know what to tell you.
Create the Force memes and trends, discussing imagery and weird detailed faces.
Weird detailed faces have always been a thing in comedic animation. What are you on about, bruh? This has been the case in shows like, Adventure Time, Flapjack, Eddie and Eddie, and old stuff like Cow and Chicken or I Am Weasel, or all those old shows had this type of humor. Like, what are you talking about?
Change everything about the show. I mean, no one wants to talk about it, but the current bandwagon is the whole race swapping thing that they'll have to do with animated characters.
Now, I do gotta agree, it's hilarious how many redheads get race swapped, and sometimes it is just stupid and only made for big corporations to pander to the ever-growing markets in the African American community, or in Asia, in Africa, in South America. But sometimes it's also a matter of people coming from these backgrounds, from these places, and wanting to have representation of these places when they make their own shows or work on shows. So it's a balance when you argue for or against it to see what is corporate executive stuff and what is just people trying to feel like everyone is represented. Most of the time is corporate stuff, which is why I don't like it, but sometimes it comes from the heart. It's also the case that even when new black characters are created, or like new black movies or shows come out, etc., you still have the anti-SJW weirdos complaining and trying their best to convince you that Miles Morales isn't Spider-Man and that Spider-Verse isn't one of the most amazing pieces of animation ever. And I say that as someone who doesn't even think Spider-Verse is like a 10 out of 10 movie or something like that.
April O'Neil, Timmy Turner, Velma, etc.
April in the Mutant Mayhem movie does suck, but Rise April is amazing, and being black will never somehow take that away from her. She's amazing, she's awesome, and if you hate her, you're actually racist. And the Fairly Odd Parents girl isn't even supposed to be Timmy. Have you watched the show even? I mean, I watched it and I forgot it because I don't even remember her name. But she's not Timmy, she's not supposed to be Timmy. Again, it's in the same continuity. What are you talking about?
Then there's the whole voice actress thing. Remember when Hank Azaria was shamelessly ousted from playing Apu in The Simpsons because he wasn't the race of the character? Because I do. It's almost like actors are supposed to portray things that they're not. Here's another shocker. This guy is actually not an anthropomorphic sponge. I mean, it's not just Azaria. This happened to Mike Henry too for playing Cleveland Brown. Alison Brie literally apologized for playing Diane from BoJack because the character was Vietnamese. Oh, so if a Vietnamese person has to voice that character and she feels so sorry about it, will she donate all the money she made on that show to Vietnamese charities? Or no, is it just a bunch of false outrage for a non-issue no one genuinely cares about?
The raised voice thing is stupid. I'd agree on that, I guess. This is what happened to the cast of Avatar The Last Airbender. If you're asking why only Zuko's voice actor kept his role, because, well, he's Asian, and Zuko's Asian, but the other voice actors for those characters from the original Avatar, they're not Asian. So they recast all of them with Asian people. They even recast those actors with the blind actors. And I'm like, you don't have to go that far. It's cool if you want to do it, but just don't do that if you don't have to. If you can, if someone is not available or, I don't know, passed away or something, that's cool. But recasting the original voice actors because they don't match the races of those fictional characters that come from countries that don't even exist in real world is kind of goofy. I'd agree on that.
When everything is racial, that's the only thing I can see when watching. I never saw Blade as a black character, or Cyborg or Gerald as Static Shock. A lot of my favorite characters are people of various ethnicities and racial tones.
Cyborg's character is literally using him being half robot as a... Actually, never mind. That is too complex for him. But Static Shock has episodes about being black. His creators were like very important in opening doors for black creators in the industry. They wore it on their sleeves and made it as part of the characters they were writing. What are you on about? That's a wild thing to say. That's like some ignorant shit.
A lot of my favorite characters are people of various ethnicities and racial tones.
Julie being one of your favorite characters does explain your your pretty bland taste in media. Sorry, Benton fans. She's one of the blandest characters ever. She's like stock girlfriend image number 24.
A lot of my favorite characters are people of various ethnicities and racial tones.
Uncle Ruckus, I think it's Ruckus. I haven't watched Boondocks in a while. But Uncle Ruckus, I hope I'm saying his name right. His whole thing is that being black and being racist. Like, what are you talking about? His whole role is basically being the guy from Django, the Samuel L. Jackson guy in Django, right? Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Oh, they just happen to be those racists. This guy's like literally whole character that he's black, and everyone's character in the Boondocks is about them being black or being white or whatever race they are or gender. What are you talking about? That's just like one of the most political cartoons ever. That's like being like Kyle from South Park being, oh, he's a Jewish guy, but I never put it together. I never even thought about it. What are you talking about? Carmen talks about wanting to kill him every other day because he's a fucking anti-Semite. Like, what are you talking about?
The black female Timmy Turner is clearly just a cheap attempt to reboot this property without any other significant pitches for change. I mean, for the diversity folks, there must be a point where this hurts the cause more than it helps it.
It's not a reboot. She isn't Timmy, and you haven't seen this fucking show. Please stop pretending. At least if you want to make a review on it, just watch it and review it and say why it's bad. Don't have to talk about race. You really don't have to. Like, I'm very honest with you.
An extremely prevalent symptom of a larger issue, which ties into the lack of respect for staying faithful to the original property. Maybe Butch Hartman wants Timmy to be race and gender swapped, which is why he has absolutely no direct involvement in the creative department of the project. I find that unlikely. It's absolutely insulting to ruin a person's original vision of a character just because people want to see themselves on screen. These people are too uncreative to create their own original stories, so they need to ruin existing stuff to be able to call themselves inclusive and hip with the time.
Butch Hartman is a bitch and has ruined, like, 2 of his shows, and he made another one that was very ass, actually, the Bunsen is a Beast or whatever the fuck it's called. That shit was ass, okay? But he already ruined 2 of his own shows, first of all, and fuck you for suggesting there's some injustice done against him. Actually, well, hop off his dick and then hop on a building, but in reverse, actually. If you catch my drift.
I mean, watch a single episode of Rise, A New Wish, Patrick Star, or Camp Coral, and you'll see that. Even those shows are unfaithful to the source material. It's not just about the race swapping issue. Being unfaithful has different forms, and the reason I focus on that issue is because it's the most prevalent at this point in time.
Complaining about Rise is so wild to me because the original comic of TMNT is a parody. The Foot Clan are supposed to be a parody of I think the Hand from Daredevil. The whole idea of TMNT was a parody of Daredevil, I'm pretty sure. And the 80s show is goofy as fuck. So what is Rise's tone and concept unfaithful to exactly? The action comedy genre the franchise originates from?
Even that's under question these days when the new Snow White or Ariel can't even sing but are preferred over tons of other actors.
She might not be able to act, I give you that, but the live action Little Mermaid actress absolutely could sing. Like, what? That's a crazy thing to say. Like, she can't act, don't get me wrong. She's a horrible actress. Who let her in? Okay? Even her facial expressions are stupid every time she's not talking. Even when she's not acting, she looks stupid. But she can sing. To lie to say that she can sing is kind of crazy. Like, the songs are worse than in the original because whoever made these movies, they suck. They're horrible. The movie is actually ass. And the original movie is not even that good. It's like a 6, 7 out of 10. But this one is actually ass. But she can sing. Like, to say she can't sing, it's just lying.
I don't know. Am I crazy?
Yes.